In Destiny 2, the Warlock class has refined its spectral elemental powers to offer much more to the fire team's chemistry. With a greater focus on supporting their allies in the heat of battle, they're far more versatile, but can still pack a punch. If you want to properly wield the power of the Warlock, here's 6 things you need to consider to effectively use the skills at your fingertips. And if you want to see our other Destiny 2 guides, be sure to give us a sub to stay up to date. Much like the mage archetype that it pulls from, the Warlock isn't really in a position to take up the brunt of damage on the front lines. However, they make up for that in raw power and support buffs for the team. The Warlock can also glide, offering greater control and precision with aerial movement. It may take some time to get used to the Warlock's hopping skills, as they're far more momentum driven than the others, but choosing starter skills like Balanced Glide will make control easier for newcomers, as it has equal focuses on direct control and speed during airtime. With the Warlock's new class ability, they can place down rifts to support the team. While effective for solo play, the different healing and damage amplifying rifts are far more useful when in groups, especially when coupled with other class abilities like the Titan's Barricade, which can give you extra protection. Though not as fast and resilient as the other classes, the Warlock can easily hold its own with melee strikes that can target multiple foes at once, and can even drain enemies with their health. The various subclasses that the Warlock can choose from have their own distinct strengths and weaknesses. Along with particular traits that can drastically alter the subclasses, it's important to get a feel of each subclass and test their limits, as getting too comfortable with one can put you in a vulnerable position. Each class is useful in its own right, and while it may feel like one is superior to the other, certain situations may call for you to utilize the skill set of a particular subclass to survive. When playing the Warlock, it's important to experiment with the many skills they possess. As the very first subclass for Warlocks in Destiny, the Voidwalker takes advantage of a number of health-draining and void-based attacks that can debilitate foes. The subclass Super, the Nova Bomb, is a massive attack resulting in tons of splash damage, hitting a number of foes at once. With its perks, you can select multiple builds that focus on turning enemies into bombs with your melee skills, and also alter the effect of the Nova Bomb. While a solid class in its own right, they somewhat lack group-oriented abilities, making this class more geared towards solo play. As a new subclass for the Warlock, the Dawnblade brings a number of interesting tricks to the fold that can make the class a serious force in battle. Allowing the Warlock to take flight and hurl deadly vaporizing projectiles, the Daybreak Super gives the Warlock expanded verticality and speed in the air. Their passive traits grant the Warlock boosts to movement and reload speeds, along with solar-based damage over time modifiers for their offensive moves. Though flying is useful, along with the air dodge and the ability to fire weapons while gliding, one downside is that you're highly vulnerable in the air, making the Dawnblade a somewhat risky subclass.
He's a master tactician.
Returning from the Taken King expansion, the Stormcaller allows the Warlock to take point and channel arc energy into devastating lightning attacks. The arc-infused subclass can float through the environment while channeling devastating bolt damage against a large crowd. This particular subclass can also recharge super energy and hit multiple enemies with their melee strikes, in addition to calling in arc-powered drones. The Stormcaller is a valuable group-oriented subclass, but it can feel somewhat limited in its focus, with many of its abilities being more geared towards helping the fire team. Though Warlocks don't get as much play as the Hunters and Titans, they're a key part of the fire team's dynamic, and can be a real game changer in the hands of a skilled player. While they don't have the speed of a Hunter, or the strength of a Titan, the Warlock class makes up for it with their versatility and skills that focus on staying in the action while supporting the crew when it counts most. As one of the more sophisticated classes in Destiny, the Warlock presents challenges in surprising ways, but if you're willing to stick with it and learn the ins and outs of each subclass, you'll be rewarded with a class that prides itself on being the Guardian's most resourceful class.